process of class 10, biology chapter 1 and science chapter 9. Life processes. Organisms show many properties such as movement, growth related or not, but visible movement is not a defining characteristic of life because a plant may not grow visibly and some animals can breathe without visible movement. Viruses do not show any molecular movement in them until they infect some cell. Living organisms are well organized structures having tissues, cells, cell organelles, etc. Due to the effects of the environment, living structures may be broken down and dead, so they must be repaired. Since these structures are made up of molecules, they must always move molecule around. Cells are made to into tissues, and tissues make organs, and organs make organ system, and organ system make an organism. Now in plants, cell makes tissues, tissues make organ make organ system, and organ system make organism itself. What are life processes? Life processes are the whole maintenance process to prevent damage and breakdown of the body of an organism. Example, nutrition, respiration, excretion, growth, etc. For this, energy is needed from outside. This energy source is called food. Since life depends on carbon-based molecules, most of the food sources are carbon-based. Food are broken down or built up in the body. They are finally converted to a uniform source of energy for molecular movement and molecules for growth and development. Oxidizing reducing reactions are some of the most common chemical means to break down molecules. For this, many organisms use oxygen. In cells, various chemical reactions create useless and harmful byproducts. The removal of such products from the body is called excretion. In unicellular organisms, the entire surface is in contact with the environment. So, no specific organisms are needed for food intake, gas exchange, or removal of wastes. In multicellular organisms, all cells are not in contact with the environment. So, simple diffusion will not meet the requirement of all the cells. That's why they have specialized body parts to perform various functions. A transportation system is needed to carry food and oxygen to all body parts and waste products from tissues to excretory system. Nutrition. It is a process of transfer of energy source, food, from outside the body to inside. It is needed for the body growth, development and synthesis of protein and other substances. Even though we are inactive, energy is needed to maintain a state of order in body. General requirements for energy and material is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. Some organisms use simple food material obtained from inorganic sources such as carbon dioxide and water. They are called autotrophs. Example, green plants and some bacteria. Some organisms directly or indirectly depend upon autotrophs for nutrition. They are called heterotrophs. Example, animals and fungi. They utilize complex substances which are broken down into simpler ones with the help of biocatalysts called enzymes. Nutrition by autotrophic nutrition. It is a process where a organism prepares its own food from simple inorganic materials. Photosynthesis it is a process by which carbon dioxide and water is converted into carbohydrates in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. It occurs in autotrophs like green plants. Its equation is 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight makes C6H12O6 which is glucose plus 6O2 plus DLTGH-6H2. Carbohydrates provides energy to plants. The carbohydrates which are not used immediately are stored as starch. It serves as the internal energy reserve in our body. Energy derived from food is stored as glycogen. Cross section of a leaf under the microscope shows that some cells contain green dots. They are called cell organelles. They are specifically called chloroplast. It contains chlorophyll. Events in photosynthesis. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. These steps need not occur in sequence immediately. Example, desert plants take up CO2, which is carbon dioxide, at night and prepare an intermediate. It is acted upon the energy absorbed by chlorophyll during the day. So, we are told that we should not go under the tree at night time because we may use that instead of oxygen we may use carbon dioxide. Experiment to show that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Take a potted plant in very vegetated leaves, money plant or crotons. Keep it in a dark room for 3 days to use up all the starch, de-starch. Keep the plant in sunlight for about 6 hours. Pluck a leaf and mark the green areas in it and trace them on a paper. Dip the leaf in boiling water for a few minutes. Then immerse it in alcohol in a beaker. Place the beaker in water bath and heat to boil the alcohol. The leaf becomes colorless. Chlorophyll is dissolved in alcohol and the alcohol turns green. Dip the leaf in a dilute iodine solution for a few minutes. The areas of a leaf turn dark blue. It indicates the presence of starch. Colorless, colorless parts of leaf shows no formation of starch. Gaseous exchange occurs in leaves through stomata for photosynthesis. It also occurs across the surface of stems, roots, and leaves. During this, much water is also lost through stomata. So, the plant closes stomata when it does not need CO2. The opening and closing of stomatal pore is regulated by gout cells. When water flows into gout cells, they swell and the pore opens. If the gout cells shrink, the pore closes. Experiment to show that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. Take two healthy potted plants having same size. Keep them in a dark room for 3 days. Now, place each plant on separate glass plates. In one, place a watch glass containing potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide is used to absorb carbon dioxide. Cover both plants with the separate bell jars. Using Vaseline, seal the bottom of the jar to glass plates to make it airtight. Keep the plants in sunlight for about 2 hours. Test the leaves from both plants using iodine. Leaf of plants kept without potassium hydroxide turn blue. It indicates presence of starch. Plant with potassium hydroxide does not turn blue. Keep a plant in dark room for 3 days to discharge leaves. Cover a leaf partially with black paper. Expose the plant to sunlight for 3 to 4 hours. Remove chlorophyll from the leaf and perform starch test with iodine. Covered leaf part shows brown color. Exposed leaf turn dark blue. due to the presence of starch. Autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophs also need other raw materials such as water and minerals like N, P, Fe and Mg. Here nitrogen, potassium, iron and magnesium. They are taken up from the soil. Nitrogen is an essential element for protein synthesis. It is absorbed as inorganic nitrates or nitrites, or it is taken up as organic compounds prepared by bacteria from atmospheric nitrogen. Heterotrophic nutrition. It is a nutrition in which an organism depends on other living organism for food. Organisms take and use food by various ways. Example, some organisms break down food outside the body and absorb it. Example, fungi like bread molds, yeast, and mushrooms. Some take in food and break down inside the body. Example, animals. Some organisms take food from organisms without killing them. Parasitism. Example, Cuscuta, Amarbel, ticks, lice, leeches, and tapeworms. Unicellular organisms take food by their entire surface. As the complexity increases, specialized parts are formed to perform different functions. Example, amoeba captures food using temporary finger-like extensions, pseudopodia, of the cell surface. They use over the food particle forming a food vacuum. In this, food breaks down into simpler ones and diffuse into cytoplasm. The undigested material is moved to cell surface and thrown out. Paramecium takes food in at a specific spot by the movement of cilia, hair-like structures covering the cell. Nutrition in human beings. Human alimentary canal is a long tube extending from mouth to the anus. Food digestion. It's a breakdown of complex food with the help of enzymes into smaller absorbable molecules. In mouth, food is chewed with the help of teeth and muscular tongue and is mixed with the saliva excreted or secreted by the salivary glands. Teeth are used to crush the food into small particles. Saliva contains salivary amylase enzyme that breaks down starch to simple sugar. Experiments show the action of saliva. Take 1 milliliter of starch solution, 1% in test tubes A and B. Take 1 milliliter of saliva to test tube A and leave both test tubes undisturbed for 20 to 30 minutes. Now add a few drops of dilute iodine solution to the test tubes. In test tube B, blue color develops. It indicates presence of starch. In test tube A, no color change because starch is digested by salivary amylase. The lining of alimentary canal is soft for smooth passage of food. The muscles in the lining contract rhythmically to push the food forward. It is called peristalsis. It helps to process the food properly in each part. From the mouth, food is moved through esophagus, food pipe, and reaches stomach. Stomach is a large organ which expands when food enters it. Its muscular wall helping in mixing the food thoroughly with digestive juices. Stomach walls contains gastric glands. They release hydrochloric acid, pepsin, a protein digestion enzyme, and mucus. Hydrochloric acid creates an acidic medium which facilitates the action of pepsin. It also helps to destroy harmful bacteria. The mucus protects the inner lining of stomach from the action of the acid. Sometimes Hydrochloric acid acts as a wall causing a burning sensation. This is called acidic. A sphincter muscle regulates the exit of food in small amounts from stomach into small intestine. Small intestine is the longest and highly coiled part of alimentary canal. In animals, length of the small intestine differs based on food they eat. Example, herbivores need longer small intestine for cellulose digestion. Meat is easier to digest, so carnivores has shorter small intestine. Small intestine is the site of the complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It receives the secretion of liver and pancreas. Liver secretes bile juice. It emulsifies fat. It is the breakdown of large fat globules into the smaller globules with the help of bile salts. It increases the efficiency of enzyme action. This is similar to emulsifying action of soap on dirt. Make the acidic food from stomach alkaline. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. It contains enzymes like trypsin to digest protein and lipase to digest emulsified fats. Glands in the walls of small intestine secretes intestinal juices which contains enzymes. They finally convert protein into amino acids and complex carbohydrates into glucose and fat to fatty acids and glycerol. Digested food is taken up by the walls of the intestine. Inner lining of the small intestine has many finger-like projections called villi. They increase the surface area for absorption. The villi contain blood vessels which intake the absorbed food to all cells. In cells, it is utilized to obtain energy, build up new tissues, and repair old tissues. The unabsorbed food is moved to the large intestine where its wall absorbs more water from this material. Remaining waste material is removed from body via anus. This removal is regulated by anal sphincter. It is gradual softening and demineralization of enamel and dentine due to the production of acids by bacteria. They convert sugary foods to acids. Bacteria invade the pulp causing inflammation and infection. Masses of bacterial cells together with food particles stick to teeth to form dental plaque. It prevents saliva reaching the tooth surface to neutralize acid. Brushing the teeth after eating can remove plaque. Respiration. It is the oxidation of the food material in cells to release energy for various life processes. Some organisms use oxygen to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water. Some do not use oxygen. Experiment to prove release of carbon dioxide during respiration in humans. Take some freshly prepared lime water in two test tubes. In one, blow air through lime water. It immediately turns lime water milky. In other test tube, pass air using a syringe or pitchkari. It takes much time to turn the lime water milky. It shows that the breathe out of air contains more carbon dioxide as compared to atmospheric air. Experiment to prove release of carbon dioxide during respiration in yeast. Add some yeast to fruit juice or sugar. Take this mixture in a test tube fitted with a one-hole cork. Fit the cork with a bent glass tube. Dip its free end into a test tube containing freshly prepared lime water. Air taken out through the tube makes lime water milky. It is used to production of carbon dioxide in mixture of yeast and sugar solution. Here, fermentation occurs. In all types of respiration, the first step is the breakdown of glucose, 6 carbon, into pyruvate, 3 carbon. It takes place in cytoplasm. Anaerobic respiration. It is a respiration in the absence of air, oxygen. It releases less energy. Example, in yeast, the pyruvate is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. It occurs during fermentation. Sometimes, when there is no oxygen in our muscle cells, the pyruvate breaks down into lactic acid, 3 carbon. This buildup of lactic acid in muscles during sudden activity causes cramps. Aerobic respiration. It is a respiration in presence of air, oxygen. It releases much energy. Here, pyruvate breaks down oxygen in the mitochondria, gives 3 carbon molecule and water. Energy released during cellular respiration is used immediately to synthesize ATP molecules, energy currency from ADP and inorganic phosphate. ADP plus P energy, ADP minus P gives ATP. ATP is used to fuel all other cellular activities. When the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken using water, energy is released. It drives the endothermic reaction in cells. A battery is used to obtain mechanical energy, light energy, electrical energy, etc. Similarly, ATP can be used for muscle contraction, protein synthesis, conduction of nervous impulses, etc. Gas exchange in plants. It occurs through stomata. Here, carbon dioxide and oxygen are exchanged by diffusion. The large intercellular spaces in leaves help the cells in contact with air. During day, carbon dioxide formed by respiration is used for photosynthesis. So, carbon dioxide is not released but oxygen is released. At night, photosynthesis does not occur. So, carbon dioxide is released out but oxygen is not released. Gas exchange in animals. Aquatic animals breathe dissolved oxygen in water. In fishes, respiratory organ is gills with gill slits behind their eyes. They may covered by a operculum. During breathing, fishes open and close mouth and gill slits or operculum in a coordinated manner and time. They take in water through mouth and pumps over the gills. From the gills, dissolved oxygen is taken up by blood. The amount of dissolved O2 is lower than that in the air. So, the rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is faster than that in the terrestrial organisms. In terrestrial animals, there are different types of organisms to breathe atmospheric oxygen. They increase surface area which is in contact with the atmosphere. Surface of respiratory organs is very fine and delicate for easy gas exchange. To protect this surface, it is placed within the body. So, some passages are necessary to carry air in and out of the respiratory organ. Human respiratory system. It involves lungs and air passage. Air passage starts from nostrils through which air is taken into the body. Air passage is lined with the fine hairs and mucus to filter the air. Conduction of air through the passage is as follows: nostrils to nasal passage, to pharynx, to larynx, to trachea, to bronchi, to bronchioles, to lungs. Rings of cartilage in the throat and trachea prevent collapsing of air passage. Within the lungs, the passage divides into smaller tubes, bronchi and bronchioles. Bronchioles terminate in balloon-like structures called alveoli. Sing alveolus. Gas exchange occurs in the surface alveoli. Alveolar walls contain a network of blood vessels. When we breathe in, ribs are lifted and diaphragm get flattened. As a result, the chest cavity becomes larger and air enters the lungs alveoli. The blood brings carbon dioxide from the rest of the body to release into the alveoli. Oxygen in the alveoli is taken up by blood in the alveolar blood vessels and is transported to all body parts. During the breathing cycle, the lungs always contain a residual volume of air so that there is sufficient time to absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide. In large sized animals, diffusion pressure is not sufficient to deliver oxygen to all body parts. So, respiratory pigments take up oxygen from lungs and carry it into tissues. In humans, the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin on red blood corpuscles (RBC). It has high affinity for oxygen. Carbon dioxide is more soluble in water than oxygen and hence is mostly transported in the dissolved form in our blood. If the alveolar surface were spread out, it would cover about 80 meter square. Surface area of human body is about 1.9 meter square. If diffusion were to move oxygen to our body, it would take 3 years for an oxygen molecule to get to toes from the lungs. Hemoglobin helps in faster gas transport. Tobacco or tobacco products affect tongue, lungs, heart, and liver. Smokeless tobacco causes heart attacks, strokes, pulmonary diseases, and cancers. Oral cancer is highly reported in India due to tobacco chewing in the form of hookah. Smoking destroys cilia on the upper respiratory tract. As a result, germs, dust, smoke, etc. enters lungs and cause infection, cough, and lung cancer. Common cause of. Moving on to part 2, transportation. Transportation is a process of movement of water and other molecules to concerned part of the organism. Human circulatory system includes blood, heart, and blood vessels. Transportation in human beings. Blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. Consists of a fluid medium called plasma in which blood cells, RBC, WBC, and platelets are suspended. Plasma transports food, oxygen, and carbon dioxide and nitrogenous wastes in dissolved form. Oxygen is mainly transported by hemoglobin. Normal level of hemoglobin in human beings: in men 14 to 17 gram per 100 milliliter, in women 12 to 15 gram per 100 milliliter, in children 11 to 16 gram per 100 milliliter. The normal level of hemoglobin in animals like buffalo or cow is 10.4 to 16.4 gram per 100 milliliter. Hemoglobin content in calves is higher than male and female animals. Adult men do more work than women and children, so they need more oxygen to get energy. That's why adult men have more hemoglobin. Hemoglobin levels in human is comparatively more than that of animals, like cattle, because human body needs more oxygen to do various biological works. Our pump, the heart. Heart pumps the blood all over the body. It is a muscular organ which is as big as our fist. It has four chambers, two upper right and left atria, two lower right and left ventricles. Right chambers carry carbon dioxide rich deoxygenated blood. Left chambers carry oxygen rich oxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs to remove carbon dioxide. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is brought back to heart and then pumped to the rest of the body. Pumping process of heart. Oxygenated blood from lungs is given to left atrium, relaxes it to blood enters left atrium. 2. Left atrium contracts and left ventricle relaxes. Then blood enters left ventricle. Then left ventricle contracts. Then blood is pumped out of the body. Listen carefully. In deoxygenated blood from the body, then to left atrium relaxes, then blood enters right atrium, then right atrium contracts and right ventricle dilates, then blood transfers to right ventricle, then right ventricle contracts, then blood vessels is pumped into lungs for oxygenation. Since ventricles have to pump blood into various organs, they have thicker muscular walls than that of atria. Heart has valves to prevent the backflow of blood when the artery or ventricle contracts. Oxygen enters the blood in the lungs. The separation of right side and left side of the heart prevents mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. This allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body. It is useful in animals that need high energy, birds and mammals, to maintain body temperature. Animals like amphibians and many reptiles do not use energy to maintain temperature. They depend on the temperature in the environment, such as three-chambered heart, and tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Fishes have only two-chambered heart. Here, circulation occurs as follows. Deoxygenated blood enters the heart, then pumped to gills, then blood is oxygenated in gills, then blood to rest of the body. Thus, blood goes only once through the heart during the one cycle of passage through the body. In other vertebrates, blood goes through the heart twice during each cycle. This is called double circulation. Blood pressure, BP. It is a force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel. This is greater in arteries than in veins. Manometer, an instrument to measure BP, systolic pressure, blood pressure in the artery during ventricular systole contraction is about 120 millimeter Hg. Diastolic pressure, pressure in the artery during ventricular diastole relaxation, it is about 80 mm Hg. High BP, hypertension, is caused by the constriction of arterioles, which increase resistance to blood flow. It leads to the rupture of an artery and internal bleeding. The tubes, the blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries. They carry blood from heart to various body parts. Since the blood emerges from the heart during high pressure, arteries have thick elastic walls. On reaching an organism or tissue, the artery divides into small branches, arterioles, to bring the bring the blood in contact with all the cells. Veins. They collect blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. They have no thick walls because the blood is no longer under pressure. Instead, they have valves to flow blood only in one direction. Capillaries. Smallest vessels having walls which are one cell thick. Through this wall, exchange of material between blood and surrounding cells take place. The capillaries join together to form veins that convey the blood away from the organ or tissue. Maintenance of platelets. Leakage or loss of blood due to the injury leads to reduction in pressure and efficiency in circulatory system. To avoid this, platelet cells plug these leaks to clot the blood at the point of injury. Lymph tissue fluid. Through the pores in the capillary walls, some amount of plasma proteins and blood cells escape into intercellular spaces in the tissues to form lymph. It is the similar to blood plasma but colorless and contain less protein. From intercellular spaces, lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries which join to large lymph vessels that contain open into large veins. Lymph carries digested fat from intestine and drain excess fluid from extracellular space back into the blood. Transportation in plants. Soil is the nearest and richest source of raw materials, water and minerals. If the distance between roots and leaves are small, energy and raw material can easily diffuse to all parts. But for a large instance, a transportation system is essential. Plants do not move and have enormous dead cells. So, they need only low energy and slow transport systems. Plant transport systems include two independently organized conducting tubes. Xylem moves water and minerals from the soil. Phloem transports products of photosynthesis from leaves to other parts. Transportation of water. In xylem tissue, vessels and tracheids of the roots, stems and leaves are interconnected to form a water conducting channels reaching all parts. At the roots, cells actively take up ions from soil. This creates a difference in the concentration of ions between root and soil. So, water moves into the root from the soil. Thus, there is a steady movement of water in the root xylem, creating a column of water pushing upwards. But this pressure is not enough to move water over the heights. So, plants use another strategy called transpiration. Transpiration is the loss of water vapor from the aerial plants, mainly stomata of leaves of the plants. It can be proved by the following activity. Take two small same-sized pots with the same amount of soil. One should have a plant in it. In other pot, place a stick of the same height as the plant. Cover the soil in both pots with a plastic sheet so that moisture cannot escape by evaporation. Cover both sets with the plastic sheets and place in bright sunlight for half an hour. In pot with plant, water droplets are found in plastic sheet. It is due to condensation of water vapor released by transpiration in other pot. Water droplets are not formed. The water which is lost through the stomata is replaced by water from the xylem vessels in the leaf. Transpiration creates a suction which pulls water from the xylem cells of roots. Thus, transpiration helps in the absorption and upward movement of water and minerals from roots to the leaves. It also helps in temperature regulation. Generally, stomata are closed at night, so plants depend on the root pressure for water transport at night. During the day, when stomata are open, transpiration pull is the major driving force in the water transport. Transport of food and other substances. Transport of soluble products of photosynthesis, food from leaves to other plants is called translocation. It occurs in a vascular tube called phloem. Phloem also transports amino acids and other substances. These substances are delivered to storage organs of fruits, fruits and seeds and to growing organs. Translocation takes place in the sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cells both in upward and downward direction. Xylem transport occurs mainly by simple physical forces, but for the translocation in phloem, energy is utilized. Material like sucrose is transferred into phloem using energy for ATP. This increases the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing water to move into it. This pressure moves the material in the phloem to tissues. Example, in the spring, sugar stored in root or stem is transported to the buds which need energy to grow. Now, excretion. Excretion is the process of removal of harmful metabolic nitrogenous wastes from the body. Unicellular organisms remove these wastes by simple diffusion from body surfaces into surrounding water. Complex multicellular organisms use specialized organs for excretion. Excretion in human beings. Human excretory system includes a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, a urinary bladder, and a urethra. Kidneys are located in the abdomen, one on either side of the backbone. The purpose of making urine is to filter out waste products from the blood. In the kidneys, nitrogenous wastes such as urea or uric acid are removed from the blood. Each kidney has large number of filtration units called nephrons packed close together. At the end of each nephron, a cup-shaped structure called Bowman's capsule is seen. It encloses cluster or of very thin-walled blood capillaries called glomerulus. In glomerulus, blood is filtered and Bowman's capsule collects the filtrate. Glucose, amino acids, salts, and major amount of water in the initial filtrate and selectively deabsorbed as the urine flows along the tube. In a healthy adult, the initial filtrate is about 180 liters daily. However, only 1 to 2 liters per day is excreted out because the remaining filtrate is reabsorbed in the kidney tubules. Water is reabsorbed based on amount of excess water in the body and amount of dissolved waste is to be excreted. The urine from each kidney enters a long tube ureter which then passes to urinary bladder and stored in it. As the bladder expands, pressure increases that leads to the urge to urinate through the urethra. The bladder is muscular, so it is under nervous control. As a result, we can control the urge to urinate. Artificial kidney or hemodialysis. Kidney failure leads to accumulation of poisonous waste in the body. In this case, an artificial kidney is used. It is the device to remove nitrogenous wastes from the blood through dialysis. Artificial kidneys contains many semi-permeable tubes suspended in a tank filled with dialysing fluid. It has same osmotic pressure of blood but no nitrogenous waste. When patient's blood pressure is passed through these tubes, the waste products from blood diffuses into dialysing fluid. The purifying blood is pumped back into the patient. This is similar to the function of the kidney, but there is no reabsorption involved. Organ donation. Any people can donate their organ or tissue regardless of age or gender. Transplantation is required when recipient's organ has been damaged or failed by disease or injury. In organ transplantation, the organ is surgically removed from one person, organ donor, and transplanted to another person, recipient. Most organ and tissue donation occur just after the death or brain death of the donor. But some organ, kidney, part of liver, lung, etc., and tissues can be donated while the donor is alive. Excretion in plants. Oxygen formed as a waste product of photosynthesis. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, and excess water are removed by transpiration. Many other waste products are stored in vacuums. Waste products may be stored in leaves that fall off. Some waste products are stored as resins and gum, especially in old cider. Plant also secretes some waste substances into the soil around them. So that's all the chapter. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel, share the video with your friends. Don't forget to like the video, and if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comment section. Okay, till the next video.